Department of Justice releasing its remaining documents from the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. Deputy Attorney General Todd Bland saying the records will be posted throughout the day, including more than 2,000 videos, more than 180,000 images, some of the material so explicit that to verify being an adult before you can actually access it. Many of Epstein's survivors have been publicly pushing...
Hey, welcome to this episode of The Soul Trap. The Bible says in Ephesians chapter number 6, verse 12, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places." Note that little phrase, against the rulers of the darkness of this world. I remember years ago when the Soul Trap started, maybe one day we'll have to do a history, a bio on how that all began. But I remember when the Soul Trap started, I would get looked at askance. People would look at us strange. They would laugh at us. They would say, "Oh, you believe in little green men? Everything is a conspiracy." I mean, you know, it was just kind of funny. In fact, many times I have been referred to as the X-Files preacher, Spooky Tillis, a takeoff on the X-Files Spooky Mulder. And it was okay. I understood that. The Soul Trap at the time was fringe. It was cutting edge. It was out there on the far reaches, or as we talk about around here, it was way down the rabbit hole. But old times have changed. We are not on the cutting edge. We are on the front page. We are not down the rabbit hole. We are talking mainstream. The rulers of the darkness of this world that we were warning you about 10 years ago and plus, well, they are now on the front pages of almost every news site that you can possibly imagine. And they do not look like what we were told that they would look like. They do not look like Ozzy Osbourne biting the head off of a bat. They don't look like Alice Cooper or Marilyn Manson or all of those things that we were told. Well, what do they look like? They look like this.
Yes.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes, I do. Could you please give us your name? Jeffrey Epstein.
Today, we're going to talk about what I think is one of the strangest people that is out there, Jeffrey Epstein. And notice that I did refer to him in the present tense. But we'll come back to that. You know, we've often talked about shapeshifters. We've talked about reptilians. We've talked about dark-eyed children. We've talked about beings that are human in appearance, but maybe soulless. We've talked about a variety of these different things. But one of the strangest figures that is out there is a dark figure, and yet in the limelight. How you explain it, I do not know, by the name of Jeffrey Epstein. One of the things that's fascinating about the Epstein case is that Jeffrey Epstein's ability to weave himself into the highest echelons of global power remains and is one of the most debated, but I would argue one of the most mysterious mysteries of all of modern history, if not all of history. There is actually a song by the Rolling Stones that talks about Satan. It's from Satan's point of view. Please allow me to introduce myself. And it goes on talking about how he's been here and there and always been around. And I'm going to be honest with you. Jeffrey Epstein has that kind of feel. No, I'm not saying that Jeffrey Epstein is Satan, but I am saying there's something satanic about him, present tense, but we'll come back to that. I am saying that there's something very, very, very strange that you can have not thousands, not hundreds, but millions of documents and references released by the Department of Justice. I am saying that a man that moved in and out of the upper echelon of military, science, Catholicism, entertainment, Israel, it is one of the strangest cases you could ever imagine. His connections were not built on a single job. It's not as if he was the president and therefore had connections. We don't actually know what he did. Nobody actually knows where all of his money was collected from. We don't know. But we do know that this high-stakes, quote-unquote, fixer was a dark, dark, dark man, at least connected to the rulers of the darkness of this world. Now, the Department of Justice recently has released a massive load of documents related to Jeffrey Epstein. The release took place on January 30th, 2026, and it consisted of approximately 3.5 million. Let that number sink in. 3.5 million pages, 2,000 videos, and almost 200,000 images, some of which we're going to show you here that are, frankly, spooky images and hard to be explained. The disclosure was mandated by the Epstein Files Transparency Act. That's right, the Epstein Files Transparency Act. This is such a big deal and such a big case that it's actually had to have an act of Congress. That's how big it is. A law that was signed November 2025 that required the government to release its files on the financier. The Department of Justice has stated this constitutes the final major release of files complying with the act. And yet, there is still more that hasn't been released. Oh, we've released everything. No, they haven't. I doubt we'll ever see that. Just like I doubt we'll ever see some of the photographs and films that we know existed about the Kennedy assassination and some of the facts and films and documents that we know existed about 9/11. In other words, the government always reserves the right to reserve the right. But here is enough damage and enough information to make us scratch our head, and if anything, to make us realize that the world in which we thought we lived, both left and right, both Biden and Trump, is not the world that we actually do live in. We are seeing and witnessing, I believe, a systemic failure of our entire system. And I believe it is designed on purpose to erode the final bastions of trust that may have existed. It is to sop up the last little bit dampness of belief and trust and confidence in our government, in our way of life, and in our system. And what we're seeing is a strange event take place. So who was Jeffrey Epstein? Was he a hyper fixer, a social architect? Was he involved in blackmail, the old quote unquote honey trapping? Was he an intelligence asset, working for the CIA, working for the Mossad, working for both? I would submit possibly working and currently working, we'll come back to that, for the Jesuits. But that's another theory. What were the key revelations that were released between 2024 and 2026? The indispensable fixer, as some people have called him, the lending out of victims, a high-level, high-operating pimp, for lack of a better word. Working with intelligence and law enforcement agencies, possibly. Names that were involved with him at higher levels that may be even going to court or maybe even having to testify now, possibly. Deep state threat that he was he taking out, or does he still exist? Your guess is as good as mine. In other words, there's a lot on the bone for us to discuss, and we are going to do that today. Jeffrey Epstein, the man that does not go away. Kevin, we have been talking about this for some time. We have been watching this for some time. You know, man, we're going to dive into the woods here, but what's the 35,000-foot view of this weird, strange, Jewish, asset by the name of Jeffrey Epstein? What's our 35,000-foot view on this thing?
Well, when they released the files, everything that we suspected was in there. There was, I was not let down, I should say. I was not let down.
So it wasn't a nothing burger. It was like a big, juicy steak.
Yeah. So often these things just kind of fizzle out, but this had everything and then some more. in there. And like we're talking before we started the show this morning, I had to stop looking. Because I could sit there for hours and hours just typing in keywords and the searches that come up, the things that pop up. Like you said, 3.5 million pages. That's text messages, that's emails, documents. I have a lot of the pictures downloaded. I was going through them, and it's shocking. Some of the things that are on there that you would put in a paper trail on email, some of the things that they would speak about. But these are things that have been vetted and released by the United States government.
Yeah, so sometimes at the Soul Trap, we get, the naysayers will say, well, you're just, hey, this is not us. You know how we talk about connecting the dots? We're not connecting them. They're handed to us connected. I mean, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the dots have already been handed to us connected. We're just looking at the picture that they are drawing and handing to us, which is scary in and of itself.
And if they're giving this to us, imagine what they're not giving to us. The horror that actually exists in the other 2.5 million pages that are out there, and the whatever millions of pages that are still being produced.
Yes. So let's talk about a couple of these. Let's go through the facts of the files. So there are 2.5 million files, and this is what's interesting, not released. So I thought we got everything. If there consisted of approximately 3.5 million pages that was released, what is not being released? What do you think is not being released, and why wouldn't it if there's literally an act of Congress that says you got to give everything up?
Well, now there's mentions, which I would agree to not release this stuff. A lot of this stuff, some of it is child pornography. Is just X-rated images that should not be released. Which, yes, redact those, get those away. Nobody needs to see that kind of stuff.
Correct.
But I can't sit here and say that all of it is that. I believe there is more in there, that if the powers that be would release the documents with their names in them, then what are they not releasing to us? And what horrors are on these pages are on there? And Trump signed that into office, into law, knowing that his name was on there, mentioned 5,000 plus times. Yeah.
So let's dive into that just a minute, because Trump has mentioned 5,000 times. Currently, there are no substantiated claims of any illegal activity. There are, however, several accusations against him. But look, there's been accusations against him from day one. I mean, if you're surprised by Donald Trump's behavior now, then you've had your head in the sand. Yeah. But here's why would Donald Trump do that? I guess my second point is what does it serve to release? Because what is it going to accomplish? Because I don't see an uproar from the public. I mean, you do on the talking heads and that kind of thing like that, but there's no marching in the streets for arrests to be made, the old proverbial French Revolution, off with their head. I mean, there's none of that. I mean, Don Lemon and his crowd are storming churches over illegal aliens. Our guys are doing Trump rallies and stuff like that on the right. But what does it serve? Because it doesn't seem to have affected day-to-day life.
Well, they had to release these. There was no way that the 2026 midterms were going to go well for the Republicans.
So you're thinking it's a political situation.
They're appeasing us by giving us this. And there's enough there to keep us busy for a long time. It's impossible to comb through these things. I mean, you could set up some AI bots to comb through these and to search and to find things that will speed this up. But still, there's a lot of this stuff it just takes a long time to go through. So I believe that it's just appeasing us. That if he did not release this, it would have been, a death blow to the administration the political season this year.
I think that's very insightful, because I think that historically, there has always been in the midterms, there's always been, you got a president that is a Democrat. Historically, Republicans have done well in the midterms. You have a Republican, historically Democrat. So that's not shocking that would happen. What I do think could be shocking is the absolute national beatdown that the Republicans take. Because I don't know that the Trump that ran in 2016, I feel like is what the people voted for in 2024.
Not the same.
It's not the same. So without getting too, digressing, what is different? Let me load the plate. I'll tell you what I think is different, and I'm sorry if this leads you down this way. I think he's a lot more big government. Mm-hmm. I don't feel like it's America first. I mean, maybe it is, but there's just a feeling of, man, this feels big government to me. Now, maybe not, but that's what I feel like. What do you think is the difference?
I think at least for me, I may be out of the loop in some of the actual news that's going on until it happens. Like Venezuela took me by surprise. Things like that, that kind of came out of left field. Things that I didn't expect. But then if you look at Donald Trump, he's a businessman, and so he's gonna what's good for the business of the United States. Yes. He's expanding his footprint, and like you said, the whole big government thing. I would have thought that he would have been more of a Ron Swanson libertarian kind of thing. Stay out of my business.
It's never too early to learn that the government is a greedy piglet.
But it feels like it's a little bit more in our business now.
Yeah, some people have to wonder. I've had conversations with others that people thought that when there was that assassination attempt on his life, that was a reminder to him that you lost the election. The election was taken away from you in 2020. Mm-hmm. Your life could be taken away from you in 2024.
Yeah.
Whether or not that's true or not, I don't know. But and therefore, you've got this bigger government, bigger state, Donald Trump that's fulfilling a bigger agenda behind him.
He's setting up some infrastructure for something else to come in the future.
Yes.
It's going to need a bigger United States that has a bigger presence in South America, in Europe, that has a stake in these other countries. A religious empire, which is interesting because I just saw in the news that he rolled out that in this year, July 1776, in July for a celebration, we're going to rededicate ourselves to God. And so I thought, that's kind of interesting. But it's interesting because I feel like we are literally seeing the Clarence Larkin dispensational revival of the Roman Empire. That Roman Empire was very religious and eventually absorbed Christianity into its statehood. And I think that we're seeing that. I agree. I think the mentality that America gets weaker prior to the rapture is maybe wrong. I think that America could possibly get stronger. Mm-hmm. I think you can make a case that America becomes the Babylon of Revelation chapter number 18, that the actual seat, and this is interesting. I know we're digressing here, but this is interesting. We're going to talk about this on our Sunday night service, but Babylon, mystery, it's not mystery Babylon in Revelation 17. It's mystery, Babylon, the mother of all harlots. Well, what that tells me is, in my opinion, is that the mystery form of this great whore has been around, I believe, since the Tower of Babel, the Sumerians, the Akkadians. It developed through Nineveh and and into Egypt, and then out of that mystery form into Babylonian mystery, which was there. And I think that went all the way through. You can trace that through Greece. You can trace that through Rome. And then eventually it develops into Rome uniting with Christianity. That's the mother of all harlots. There's your three. And it's interesting because you've got a woman in Matthew 13 that hides the leaven in three measures. So I do believe that America could be the next seat, not Rome, but America could be the seat of that mystery form going into the tribulation. And I think Donald Trump, whether by hook or by crook, knowingly or unknowingly, is setting the stage for that next development that's coming on. Mm-hmm. So we've got some other things here, facts from the files that are fascinating. And what's crazy is a lot of this is coming from our guys. So you've got Elon Musk. Tell us a little bit about Elon Musk. Yeah, Elon Musk has appeared in there a few times, but there's emails of him asking, he said, what day or night will the wildest party on your island be?
Yeah.
So if you know anything about what took place on Epstein Island, when Elon wants to go to his wildest party,
Yes.
then I can't imagine what took place at some of these wild parties. When you hear about some of the things that took place at those, like when I think it was George H. Bush, Herbert Walker Bush was there, and you talk about they were there cutting off feet of infants,
Yes.
and eating the feces out of their intestines.
Yes.
That's a pretty wild party.
Yes.
I can
Do we have? Where are those sources for that? Do we
That's
know?
all within the emails on the DOJ website. You can go in there and you can search these things, and I'll do my best afterwards in the editing to put all these things up on the screen.
Well, I tell you what. Can we do this? Can we put the link to the Department of Justice files on there?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And then you just keyword search it.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you get bored on a Saturday night, you can just sit there and search.
And let's be honest. I think we've all been, at a party or something and thought, what would really go good with the keg is some baby feces.
Yes.
We've all been there.
That's a wild party.
That's a wild party, man.
Yeah.
It's a demonic party.
Yes.
What's fascinating? You remember a couple years ago when Mel Gibson made the statement, and he talked about these parties, about these events where people kind of blew that off. I can't remember the rapper's name. We mentioned it not long ago, but people have talked about it. And then the lead singer for what's his name? The lead singer, Billy Corgan. Yeah, for Smashing Pumpkins, talked about what he saw. Mm-hmm. There was a guy, and I will have to look it up, for the Scorpions, a band, the guitar player, bassist. He made a statement and then redacted it, because you didn't want to get killed. This stuff has been out there. It's coming up mainstream right now. So it's interesting because it makes you wonder, is it hurling us into paganism, or is it being used to set up for there to be a quote-unquote pseudo-revival of Christianity prior to the coming of the Lord? Of course, then we have the infamous and notorious Prince Andrew. Appears to be on top of what is a young female. The state of her consciousness at the time of the picture is unknown.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Tell us a little bit about that. And then the Clintons and Maxwell and the House Oversight Committee.
Yeah. The whole the Prince Andrew, he's, I guess, in my opinion, they're all filthy, but just a lot of his stuff is out there and very public and very disgusting.
Yes.
The state of the girl's redacted, so you can't see anything, which is good. You don't know what's going on there, but she appears to be laying on, which I don't know if we're going to put the picture up or not, but she appears to be laying on the ground and he is on top of her. And that's just what's going on. But then you have Bill Gates. There's emails with Bill Gates and Epstein going back and forth, asking for antibiotics for STDs, which is very strange.
Yeah.
And so then I believe Melinda Gates just made a statement not too long ago about all this. So that's a little odd. But then in a surprise twist, which I didn't think would happen, but I might just kind of play into the show that's going on there. You have the Clintons and Maxwell, both Clintons, appearing in front of the House Oversight Committee.
Yeah. So, some people think that the Clintons are going to do a tell-all. I don't think so. I think the Clintons are going to do what the Clintons do best. They're Teflon. They're going to talk well. They're going to make a mockery. To be honest with you, I think that that's a trap being set for the senators or for the committee that's going to. You're not going to out-talk Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton, and I think it's going to be a trap to make it look foolish. It is very, very interesting about that. I'm looking at some of our notes here. Donald Trump, we talked about him. Obviously, this is what's going to be rough for people, is that Donald Trump did not have a passing relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Right. We're talking about a lot. He was deeply connected, was in his home, various unverified tips submitted to the FBI. He was deeply involved. Obviously, Prince Andrew was deeply involved. You've got Steve Bannon, Catherine Rumor, former White House counsel under Obama. Emails were showing invitations to meetings with Epstein. What's interesting is you've got a lot of stuff going on here. And he is deeply and profoundly connected with all of these people. So the question is, what is it about Jeffrey Epstein that allowed him to be able to move in and out of these circles? And here's what's crazy, man. These are like the richest, most powerful people in the world coming and knocking on his door.
Yeah.
So who makes who? I mean, you mean to tell me, and this is what's fascinating, you mean to tell me that Jeffrey Epstein is the only guy out there?
No.
And I'm not trying to be ugly. He's the only guy out there that can provide, how can I say it, carnal pleasures. Now, he can't be the only drug dealer. I mean, does Bill Gates really need to go to him to get antibiotics? I would think Bill Gates would be able to go to, I mean, geez.
He's the king of the vaccines.
You're the king of the vaccines, but, even HIPAA laws themselves, he could go to a walk-in clinic and get an antibiotic, and by law, they would not be able to release his name. Right. I'm thinking about Elon Musk. There's no other big parties. You don't know anybody in Hollywood. There's no, there's something that is focal point about this. And the question is it, the old story, the old thing is chicken or the egg, which came first? So what comes first? Did these people make Epstein? Or the more dangerous, profound question is, did Epstein make these people? Is he a visible focal point from a darker, unseen hand operating behind the scenes, and that their connection to that unseen hand was Jeffrey Epstein?
He's the liaison between the other side and them. He's the gatekeeper. He's the
gatekeeper.
Yeah, he's the one. If you want to play, you got to go through him, because there's nobody as connected, like you said, through entertainment, through politics, through business, through everywhere, comes right to him.
Right. And, it's interesting because when you look at it, and I'm not calling Epstein the son of perdition. I'm not saying that at all. But when you look at him, it very is interesting, the connection of similarities between him and Judas Iscariot. I mean, to get to Jesus, you would have had to come through, obviously, the disciples, but you wonder how, we don't see it written clearly in the Bible, so we're not adding to the Word of God. But you wonder, some of those people that wanted to get to Jesus, and then the disciples would shoo him away, and then Jesus would say, no, let him come to me. You wonder how much that Judas was involved in that. We know at one point when a woman broke the alabaster box that Judas was mad because the money wasn't spent. He was in charge. He was the treasurer, which would imply to me that he was trusted. He was authoritative. He was powerful. He was real close to Jesus. He was also obviously filled with Satan, and he was the manifestation, the mover, the shaker. You just have to wonder, was this guy just basically, is Jeffrey Epstein just that good a con man, that good a pimp, that good a drug dealer that he was able to provide that? Or was there something deeper, more profound that was going on?
One of the personal beliefs that I hold, and this kind of goes as a more of a blanket statement, I believe that part of that everlasting covenant that God made with the Jews in Genesis, I believe that Jewish people, and you can kind of see this played out throughout the whole world, that Jewish people have an innate ability to make wealth and to manage wealth.
Okay. Jews be Jewing.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
That's not to quote Nick Fuentes, but that's, I mean, a Jewish man, Jews have done that, just like Gentiles have done what they have done. We have an innate ability to destroy stuff, build stuff, and then to fight and kill each other. That's Gentiles.
You can't become an exceeding and great nation without the ability to make and to manage wealth. And I think that just kind of comes down throughout their DNA, no matter where they are in the world.
Yeah.
I believe that's like no matter where they are in the world, no matter what business, law, corporates, Epstein, entertainments, sports, everywhere, when you go highest up to the pinnacle, the people we're dwelling in the tents of Shem is what it is, and they're the landlords of everybody.
So it's interesting to think, as I've used this illustration before, in Genesis 9:27, and I'm not trying to be controversial. I'm just saying the word of God runs the world. It's not the other way around. Mm-hmm. And if you look at Genesis 9:27, and then you look at a basketball team, it pretty much it gives you've got the guys on the court, you've got John Johnson on the court, and he's got unbelievable physical ability. And then you've got, Bob Jakowski, who's the head coach, the strategist, the manager, the builder. And then sitting up in the box watching it all unfold is, Robert Goldstein.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you have to wonder. I've often wondered, when you look at Catholicism and you look at Rome and Constantine, early on when you look at it, and I'm kind of developing this as we go along. And I am a dispensationalist. And if you want to call me a Zionist, you can, but I do believe in the everlasting covenant. I do believe in Israel's perpetuity. I do believe that the remnant will come through and be refined and be the people that he intended. But early on, Christianity was predominantly Jewish, even when it was predominantly led by Judaism, even when it became predominantly Gentile in its converts. And you often wonder, what is what? Is Catholicism simply a product of Christianity gone amok? Or is it possible that Catholicism, because they had such a desire to get back to Jerusalem, they have such a desire to rule and to reign, you just wonder if there is at the highest level, a deep connection between maybe, top tier, top of the pinnacle Judaism that has been a part of that. I don't know, but I agree with you. There's something odd. So let's look at some of these things. Let's start with trying to figure out a little bit about who this guy is, the hyperfixer. At a surface level, Epstein operated as basically a social broker. He didn't just meet people. He provided a lifestyle and solutions that the ultra-wealthy found irresistible, which is interesting that you would get to such a high level of money and power and enjoyment that you still couldn't find enjoyment unless you were provided all of this filth. There's a financial hook. Epstein marked himself as a financial doctor, a tax wizard for billionaires. I find that hard to believe. You mean to tell me that if I'm a billionaire, there's not some CPA company that I can hire to do that? He managed the wealth of retail mogul like Les Wexner of, wait for it, Victoria's Secret, and reportedly received over $150 million from Leon Black, Apollo Global Management, for tax and estate planning. It would be interesting to see the deep state connection of the Apollo Global Management. Of course, the name itself jumps out. You've got Victoria's Secret, which is basically soft porn, and then you have the Apollo, that name very, very interesting, the god Apollo Global Management. He was a lifestyle enabler. He provided private jets, secluded islands, and lavish townhouses. Again, my question is, they couldn't come up with this stuff? Bill Gates needs that? I don't know, maybe. Amenities that even the very wealthy found convenient for moving around without public scrutiny. And then he was deeply involved in the scientific world. That's what's fascinating. Epstein used his foundation to fund, quote unquote, cutting edge science, which gave him access to prestigious circles at Harvard and MIT, connecting him with academics and tech founders like Bill Gates and, as we just mentioned, not only Bill Gates, but Elon Musk. What do we mean by hyperfixer, and what stands out to us about that?
Well, like a lot of people, like you said, a lot of people will send their finances to him for him to audit them. And that just could be a front for money to go back and forth. I mean, I guess you could produce a lot of money and give it to somebody without there being a reason of them receiving that money. So, of course, a billionaire, somebody managing a billionaire's money is going to probably receive a lot of money for doing so. But a lot of it is, I believe, is blackmail. These people are drawn into this. They're drawn into it. Of course, you want to go to the big popular party that all the people are going to be at. But then what happens there, you don't want to be the odd one out. Maybe you participate, and then they have pictures of you like Prince Andrew on top of a girl that's passed out on the ground. And then now you kind of got to do whatever they want you to do. Otherwise, that's going to get out, and that's going to ruin your life and ruin the things. And that's the same thing that went on in the rap world. We hear Fat Joe talking about you get up to these Diddy parties and Jay-Z and Beyonce and the homosexual acts that if you don't do our bidding, well, guess what? We're gonna drop all these pictures of you, and then you are completely ruined for the rest of your life.
Yeah. So that does lead us into, so the hyperfixer to me, social architect, that doesn't ring. Maybe that's the case, but I don't know. Maybe they do. I mean, I've never operated at that world. The truth of the matter is, to some degree, they still do live in the world, and they have to adjust and operate in that world. So I can kind of see, but yeah, I mean, when you're at that level, I don't know.
Yeah,
I do think the blackmail theory is interesting. That's something that we've talked about. The prominent theory for this is his deep connections and why so many people stayed close even after his 2008 conviction. And that's important. We're going to come back to that because, if he was a fixer and he was this and that, in 2008, he was convicted. You would think he would have that stigma, that red letter on him, but they stayed with him. So the question is why? And the idea is that he ran, quote unquote, an Operation Honey Trap. The victims and investigators have alleged that Epstein's properties were wired with cameras. The theory posits that he provided young women to powerful men and recorded the encounters to create compromising material. Now, I guess in some cases, young women would do that. You would think that if you really wanted to put somebody in a compromising position, it would be young children. And we're seeing the uptick of that. Let me rephrase that. We're not seeing an uptick. We're seeing an avalanche of child pornography. Sean Ryan just did a show about what's going on in Middle America, and maybe we'll reference that in a few minutes. But what do you think about the honey trap idea, and that really what was going on was not wealth management, but wealth blackmail?
Yeah, wealth blackmail management, meaning I'm going to look over what you're spending on, and you got to. I think the whole is a pay to play kind of thing. You eventually in entertainment and politics.
That's
and power,
a great statement. That is so true. I love the way you said that.
You hit a paywall, just like anything. You can read news stories on some of these websites, like The Blaze or or any of these other Wall Street journals, anything like that. But eventually, if you want to read more, you got to pay to get past it. I think the world operates in that same manner. You can only go so high before you have to go and participate in some of these things, because at the top of the pinnacle of these pyramids of corruption is these people, like these Jewish leaders, these people who are at the top of them, and you see them connected. Like I said, entertainment, politics, corporate world, all over. They all lead back to almost one type of person running them all. Yeah.
Well, that's a problem, isn't it? I mean, when you start looking at that.
And even lower level things too. I'm sorry to interrupt, but lower level. There's this content creator that I just came across her recently. I believe her name is Mary Allison, and she has a very interesting theory about jesters.
Okay.
And what some of these lower level celebrities are being used as when they're coming out, making these kind of, not necessarily A-list celebrities, but the B and the C and the D-list celebrities, what they're being used for by these elites. They're being used as jesters, because like she said, historically, jesters, one of their uses were they would go before the troops into battle and attempt to confuse the opposing party, or they would be used to push the envelope with the people, wherever they were, to see what is acceptable with the common folk. So you have people like she referenced Justin Bieber performing live at the Grammys in his underwear. You have Britney Spears going nuts and shaving her head, and back in the day, you have all these celebrities. And what really broke my heart on this one is she used Rainn Wilson, Dwight Schrute, and some of the weird stuff he posted back since when The Office went off the air. Some of the things, like, why would he do something like this if it was not for them to A, get a laugh out of it, and to B, test the waters to see how far they can push into society, because ultimately what they want to do is put their filth on display for the world. Yeah, it is interesting because to go back, Justin Bieber did that, but wasn't it not long ago? What's the guy's name? The wrestler. What's the guy's name? John Cena. Yeah. He was basically naked. Yeah. Right? And then you remember Cat Williams, when he did his big interview
with what's his name? Shannon Way, not Shannon Way. Might have been. Anyway, I can't remember the guy's name, but he did that interview, got a lot of press back, got a lot of pushback on that. And let's not forget, he talked about, and it's true, Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
Dave Chappelle talked about how that you've got these black guys that always have to get dressed up in women's clothing. Always. Cat Williams said no, David Chappelle said no. Cat Williams has been ostracized. And you remember when David Chappelle went, quote unquote, crazy and took off to Africa? And he's been asked about that quite a bit. But I think, in my opinion, I think it's because David Chappelle had a door open unto him and it scared him to death. Mm-hmm. And he took off. There was the Martin Lawrence. There was the break that he had, and you can see the clip, and maybe we even put on here the clip of David Chappelle in the Actors Studio.
You know, when we did Blue Streak, we were promoting it, and Martin had a stroke. He almost died. And then after that, I saw him, and I was like, oh my God, Martin, are you okay? And he said, I got the best sleep I ever got in my life. That's how tough he is. So let me ask you this. What is happening in Hollywood that a guy that tough will be on the street waving a gun, screaming, they are trying to kill me?
Yeah.
What's going on? Why is Dave Chappelle going to Africa? Why does Mariah Carey make a $100 million deal and take her clothes off on TRL? A weak person cannot get to sit here and talk to you. Ain't no weak people talking to you. So what is happening in Hollywood? Nobody knows. The worst thing to call somebody is crazy, is dismissive. I don't understand this person, so they're crazy. That's bullshit. These people are not crazy. They're strong people. Maybe the environment is a little sick.
Talking about Martin Lawrence and talking about what is ipso facto the Illuminati. Mm-hmm. And I agree with you. I think, Kevin, you made a profound statement. There comes a point where you got to pay to play. The whole Faustian, you got to sell your soul. And ultimately, I think you see that in Luke chapter 4 with Satan and the man Christ Jesus. Mm-hmm. And I'm being specific there. Obviously, we know that Jesus Christ was, and forever will be God in the flesh. But he was likewise man. And I think that the temptation that Satan was throwing at him was not the God part, and now we're getting theologically, into the weeds here, but he was throwing it at the man part of Jesus. Mm-hmm. And he said, if you'll worship me, I'll give you all these kingdoms. In other words, the higher up you go, you got to come through me. Yeah. I'm the gatekeeper. And yeah, I agree with you. I think it's very, very interesting. And that jester mentality reminds me of some of these black guys, comedians and actors that have had to do that and have had to give their soul away like that. And so, yeah, I think it's a very, very fascinating study when you think about it. So, the blackmail thing, I think that's more so. I think there's also the idea of him being an intelligent asset. Yeah. Some researchers believe that Epstein was not a lone predator, but an asset for one or more intelligence agencies, and they often cite the CIA or the Mossad. I don't really know that in the West there's that huge of a difference at the highest levels. I would submit to you that the most underrated, under-talked about, under-known intelligence agency are the Jesuits. I believe with my heart that at the bottom of the deep state is the deep religion. And I think that's why Revelation presents it that way. In Revelation 17, I believe it's talking about two sides to the same coin, Mystery Babylon, political Babylon. But it starts with the great whore riding the beast, that manifestation of that. So, I mean, you've got the belongs to intelligence. In 2019, it was alleged that Alex Acosta, a 2019 report alleged that Alex Acosta, the prosecutor who gave Epstein a lenient plea deal in 2008, told Trump administration officials that he was told to back off because, quote, Epstein belonged to intelligence. What do we think about that?
I think that's exactly what it is. Because why wouldn't you, if you were the United States government and ultimately the CIA, they're going to collect what? Intelligence. They want intelligence. They want it, but who has it right now? this guy Epstein has intelligence and information on everybody in every aspect of life. So why wouldn't they approach him and, hey, we're going to give you a pass, but you're going to work for us?
Yeah.
You can. I mean, the filth runs deep in Washington, no matter what. So they're not blushing at the things that they're seeing in these files or the things that he's doing. We're going to give you a pass. You're going to operate, but you're going to feed that back to us.
Yeah. Well, another connection along the same lines is with Ghislaine Maxwell.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you feel free to jump in here, but that's a whole freakish story in and of itself. Ghislaine Maxwell's father is Robert Maxwell. He was a media mogul, widely rumored to have ties to the Mossad. Not rumored, I mean, he did. He brokered a financial deal between the Czechoslovakian government and Israel when Israel needed weaponry early on. Some theories suggest that Ghislaine and Jeffrey took over his role using their social circle to gather intelligence, blah, 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 blah. Drop site news suggests that Epstein acted as a back channel between countries. Again, it's interesting that one guy has this many different faces. A chameleon, a shape shifter, almost to say. Now, one of the things that happened is we've got some key revelations that came out specifically within the last couple years. You've got him connecting with Steve Bannon, Elon Musk. The Butler Manual is a 58-page household manual for his Palm Beach estate, detailing a culture of extreme secrecy. Staff were instructed to see nothing, hear nothing, say nothing, and were banned from using casual language like "yeah" or "I don't know." Are you familiar with that at all? Have you gotten into any of that side of the rabbit hole?
No, I have that pulled up on my computer. That was one of the things I put off to the side that I had to back out of to keep myself from going too deep.
Yeah.
But we could keep doing shows and shows and shows on everything that keeps coming out. But, I briefly looked into that one.
Dude, that is spooky.
Yeah.
One of the weirdest things to me is the pictures. I mean, just the pictures. Do we have any, like one or two just to pull up? And then you got to look at it on your own. I mean, some of it I'm not even sure is appropriate to put out, but maybe just one or two to give you an idea of the weird, high, strange weirdness that we're talking about. We're not talking about your run-of-the-mill, just naked women pornography stuff. We're talking about weirdness. What have you got?
Well, I mean, you could see the pictures. One of the things that really stood out to me, I mean, a lot of the pictures are just pictures of his home and just equipment, furniture, things like that. He had a weird aesthetic for his design, his interior design, but that's beyond the point there. But there's just so many pictures of, and they're thankfully redacted when you look at them, of just sexual acts all over the wall. And then the narcissistic behavior of him with selfies with everybody, all hanging out through his house. You know, it's normal to have pictures of your family and stuff in your house, whatnot, but he just has picture after picture after picture with him with other people all over, almost as if it's a reminder, like, hey, I got the other pictures that took place this day too. But one of the things that was really odd was a lot of the medical equipment that he had in his homes. He had examination tables. I mean, he had dental it looked like a full dentist office in his homes in New York, down in Little St. James, and just the medical equipment, the amount of equipment there was just odd.
Yes.
Especially when we're jumping ahead a little bit, but especially when you start to connect the things that he was doing at Zorro Ranch as well too.
Okay. So do you have that picture of the one with the dentist chair and the faces?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to throw that up. That is odd. I mean, that's what we're talking about. Now, here we go, boys and girls. Now we're really going down it. Zorro Ranch. Of course, let's remember the name Zorro. Zorro was a masked figure. We'll get back to that in a minute. I'll give you a connection with that in a minute. But tell me about the Zorro Ranch.
So Zorro,
and by the way, I'm sorry, for clarity, some people have actually mistaken and thought that Anthony Scalia, was at Zorro Ranch when he died. He was not. It's my understanding that's not the same ranch. There's theories about that, but I don't think it was the same ranch. But it has no bearing on the high insanity of Epstein's Zorro Ranch. Tell us about that.
So Zorro Ranch is a New Mexico. It's in New Mexico, and you can actually get to it. Ian Carroll actually just went there recently. You can't get into it, but you can drive by next to it, and you can see the pictures from that. So Zorro Ranch is a very interesting place, and we did some episodes on the deep underground military bases of that area, and there's allegedly tunnels that actually would connect from Zorro Ranch to other underground facilities there. But what he wanted to do with Zorro Ranch, and this was what he said, he wanted to have multiple women there that he would impregnate in order for him to have a super race of humans with his DNA, because he believed that there was something different about his DNA. A very strange place. And this isn't just some conspiracy thing like, I don't know, some QAnon thing that has really no base. This is stuff that has documented evidence, witnesses, people of him saying that he wanted to impregnate women to have a super race of people that had his DNA in them.
Yeah. And by the way, just by passing, if I had to guess who is truly behind QAnon, I would say it would probably be Jeffrey Epstein and or his group. Yeah. I think the most played, manipulated group of people right now, there are two of them, and that is the black man and the right-wing conservatives.
Yeah.
True right-wing conservatives that are being played by somebody like Candace Owens, who obviously is a Jesuit. Obviously, she is a deep state plant. I mean, just to, if it wasn't for her, well, I digress. If it wasn't for her, the right would be totally unified behind the death of one of its greatest leaders at the time, Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
But the same thing for Erica, but we're digressing. Zorro Ranch is weird, man. The guy believed there was something different about his DNA and wanted to impregnate these women. I mean, I don't know. Where do you go with that? How do you respond to that?
No, he's obviously not an idiot. I think he may know something about his DNA that maybe we don't know. Maybe that we can just speculate that there is something different about him. And I thought it was interesting, which one of the things that took place out in the desert was Babylon working.
Yes.
Which Jack Parsons and L. Ron Hubbard wanted to bring forth, the Scarlet Woman from the desert, from a sex magic ritual, which mirrors pretty much everything that took place on Epstein's Island, and all around the world.
Yeah, and it's interesting too when you think about it, because you have that mixture of L. Ron Hubbard, Jack Parsons, Aleister Crowley. Jack Parsons was JPL Laboratory, and so you have this strange mixture of high science and high paganism. You have the wilderness, which is exactly where the talks about the wilderness, the plains of Shinar. You have the wilderness, and then you have an island, and so there's definitely some connectivity. And here's the thing that's important to understand. We're not saying that all of this is exactly that, but we're saying it's, at the very least, it might not be the substance, but it is a reflection. It's a hologram. It is a shadow being cast of something darker and sinister that is there, that I believe that Christians have failed to recognize just how truly, when Paul said the rulers of the darkness of this world, that it is there. It is in high places, not just geographically, but politically. So you've got this guy, here it is, crazy guy. Let's talk about, while we have the time, the death of Jeffrey Epstein. And I'm going to say let's do it together here. The death of Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein, August 2019, remains one of the most scrutinized events in recent history, while the official ruling by the New York City Medical Examiner, and we can always trust the New York City Medical Examiner, is suicide by hanging. You have one of the most influential men globally in your prison, and he hangs himself. Yeah. Several documented anomalies or coincidences have fueled skepticism, both the public and forensic evidence. With the release of millions of documents, new light has been shed on just how deep the institutional failure went. Couple big failures. The first one was surveillance failure. The most cited coincidence, quote unquote, involves the cameras outside Epstein's cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center. Here's what it was. First, malfunctioning hard drives. Now,
Convenient.
Kevin, you are our producer, our guru. We have other guys that assist and help behind the scenes with the Soul Trap. But in the last 10, 15 years, how many hard drive malfunctions have we had with our equipment? Zero. Okay.
And if you do,
yes,
we have cloud backups, we have hard backups, and multiple locations. You have, cloud offsite. You have backup locally, and then a backup of the backup, if just in case something were to happen.
Well, okay, maybe we're just more advanced than the Metropolitan Correctional Center, but
obviously,
officials originally claimed the cameras were working but didn't record due to a quote hard drive malfunction. That equates to me as the dog ate my homework.
Yeah.
Recent forensics analysis released showed that out of 11 cameras in the special housing unit, 10 were not recording. So apparently, the hard drive malfunction affected all 10 except for one. I don't know. Then you have the quote-unquote missing minute. Analysis of one functioning camera, which only showed a sliver of the staircase, revealed a quote missing minute right before midnight, where the timestamp leaps forward. Experts noted the footage appeared to be a screen recording of a monitor rather than an original digital export, raising questions. So you're missing a minute. Mm-hmm. Okay. Previous incident footage from July 23rd, Epstein's, quote, first suicide attempt was reportedly lost or overwritten. Now, they had to say that. They had to say that he had attempted suicide because up until this point, he wasn't suicidal.
Right.
Was overwritten by the jail, preventing the investigators from seeing it. The event was a genuine attempt or an assault by his cellmate. So let's start there real quick. Surveillance failures. Would you call that, nonsense? I mean, what are we talking about here?
That's an easy cop out. That's what that is. Just like in Minneapolis when they broke in and stole the records from the daycare.
Yes.
Very convenient.
Yes.
That's an easy way for them to cover up whatever took place. And you wouldn't have one of the most publicly known criminal in the world at that time would not be left alone, would not be unmonitored, whether it's from a camera or eyes on him at all times, because that is a risk. That is what criminals facing the truth coming out, facing justice. A lot of times they will do that. They will take their own lives to not have to do that. So they would be on him 24/7, like white on rice. He would have no way to be out of their supervision. So to say, oh, it's just a hard drive error, that I believe is garbage, 100%. And I believe there was, I'm looking for it now, and I have to find it up.
I think I'm looking for the same thing you are, but go ahead.
The statement from the workers saying that he was moved out of the jail cell, and then when you look at the pictures of the body,
yes,
you see that. Well, apparently he had a nose job. From the time that he was in prison to the time that he died, and those pictures were released of him. His facial structure was different. It's just, there's a lot of weird stuff that just does not add up. And I believe that the whole hard drive crashing thing is
we're going to talk about some of the other stuff. It's interesting how there's always these, Oswald was conveniently shot before he could. Jack Ruby conveniently died of cancer. There's always these conveniences. Danny Casolaro, who was writing the book The Octopus, a profound newsbreaker, he conveniently committed suicide. Vince Foster, who is the father of Chelsea Clinton, he conveniently died by multiple. He killed himself, though, actually.
Yeah.
And the way he killed himself was by shooting himself repeatedly in the back of the head with a .38 caliber. I mean, it makes sense. One of the high witnesses in Oklahoma that witnessed multiple people getting out of the Ryder truck. I forget that guy's name, but he killed himself by sitting in his car, and he cut his throat in his car, then dragged himself 200 yards after his throat was cut and bled out, dragged himself 200 yards across a field into some woods, and shot himself twice in the back of the head with a 45 caliber pistol. So, I mean, hey, these things happen.
Yeah.
10 out of 11 things go down. Only in that area, though.
Yeah.
Only in that hard job. It only affected that area. Okay, you brought it up. Forensic inconsistencies. Medical experts have pointed to specific physical evidence that is statistically rare. Okay, so here's what they mean by statistically rare. A triple neck fracture. Autopsies reveal Epstein had 3 broken bones in his neck, including the hyoid bone. So he didn't just hang himself, he hung himself.
Yeah.
Then there's strangulation versus hanging. Forensic pathologist Dr. Michael Baden, hired by Epstein's brother, famously noted that while a broken hyoid could happen in suicidal hangings, it is far more common in homicidal manual strangulation. Baden stated he had never seen those specific 3 fractures in a suicide hanging in his, wait for it, 50-year career. And then, as you said, there's the scene disarray. Photos of a cell released in 2025 show a chaotic scene. Investigators never definitively identified which strip of bed sheet was the actual ligature. One photo shows a noose that the DOJ later admitted was not the one used, leading to claims that the crime scene was contaminated or staged. Yeah. So that's if you believe that he's actually dead.
Yeah.
That's if you believe that he's actually dead. Of course, there's the napping, the 8-hour gap. He was supposed to be checked every 30 minutes. He went unwatched for 8 hours.
Yep.
The false logs, the missing cellmate just one day before his death. It's amazing how these coincidences unfold, right? Just one day before his death, Epstein's cellmate was transferred out. Isn't that shocking? Not the day after, not 2 days before, one day before, leaving the most high-profile and supposedly suicidal prisoner in the country completely alone. Removal of the suicide watch. Despite a reported attempt just weeks prior, Epstein was removed from suicide watch by a prison psychologist shortly before his death. Of course, that's if you believe that he's actually dead. There's some argument out there that if you've watched, and this is going way down the rabbit hole, but there's some people that believe that maybe we'll do a show on this, because I kind of tend to think this. I think it, not believe it. But there are some people that believe that the space shuttle Challenger, it blew up, but that those astronauts were not on there. And you can see people trying to interview them. It's scary, man. It is spooky.
Then they've all moved on to different
careers.
careers.
Yeah, they've moved on. Yeah, and you can look it up. Yeah. It's very, very weird. There are some people that believe that Timothy McVeigh didn't die. That some of these people that are used by the government, they're set up and then off they go. I mean, would you recognize, honestly, if he had a beard or whatever, would you recognize Timothy McVeigh if he walked down? I wouldn't. And then would you recognize Jeffrey Epstein? Beard, mustache, different hairstyle. Whitey Bullinger was able to get away for a long, long, long time before he was caught. Would you necessarily recognize him? Well, you tell me. You tell me, man.
Yeah.
Who's this cat right here?
That is a man that looks just like Jeffrey Epstein in Israel.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. A good place for a Jewish man that runs most of the world to go and...
You did your job.
Yeah.
Now it's time to go to Israel, chill out just a little bit, and relax.
Yeah, you get the first room in Trump Towers in Gaza.
Exactly, Gaza Towers.
Yeah. To me, I'm looking at that, I'm like, that is the same. Well, now then this has been run through AI checks, and they whoever they are, say that is not artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
That is an actual picture of, coincidentally, a Jewish man, a white man in Israel there that looks just like Epstein with a beard and long hair.
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely weird. I mean, and when you start thinking about it, the rabbit hole just never stops. I mean, there was obviously the little St. James You can see the Luciferian connections.
And, let me jump in real quick. Did you see the drone footage too of I believe it was a couple weeks after he died of a man that looks just like Jeffrey Epstein getting out of a like a side by side UTV out there on the island?
No.
Yeah.
Do we have that? Can we get a hold of that?
Yeah.
Can we pull it up?
Yeah. Give me a minute here. I'll pull it up for us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. While the FBI is raiding his place at that same time, this guy is right there. And that's what they say that
Okay, so
he's
let's
still
pick
alive.
up. Yeah. Okay, so you can see the video. There's the still shot. Who is this guy? He's got shorts on and a blue shirt, so he's not FBI. I mean, if he is, he's pretty casual, but that cat looks, and he's actually looks like he's looking up. Mm-hmm. Looks like he's like, hey, what are you doing here, man? I'm trying, that's weird, man. So look, you've got the Luciferian and Illuminati connection. I mean, the guy's got a temple. You can call it whatever you want, but the guy's got a temple on his island. You've got the transhumanism, wanted to seed the human race. That's the goal of immortality. You've got the ritual violation, the blood libel logic. He uses trauma as control, spiritual ritual abuse, blood connections. There is a lot of rumor that goes around at the highest levels of adrenochrome is a chemical supposedly harvested from traumatized children, which is why the child kidnapping is so high. There is no evidence that this was found in the million pages of DOJ, but we never know. That might be in the millions of pages that have not been released. And then, of course, you have the Baal financial connection. That's yes, you heard me correctly. In 2026, a document went viral for listing an account named Baal in occult circles. Baal is a major demon. Now, they came back and said, well, it was a mistake. It wasn't supposed to be that way. But your guess is as good as mine. The mask room, the blackmail, the temple, the transhumanism, the fact that his death is still very, very weird. And then you've got this guy getting out on the island that looks exactly like him. Nobody can explain who the cat is. Mm-hmm. And then you've got a guy that looks exactly like him walking around in Israel. And in other words, who is this man? Who was this man? Maybe a better question is, what is this man? At the end of the day, Kevin, as we wrap up, what do you think falls out from all of this in 3 months?
There's too much stuff here, and I guess I can keep going. I got more things on here. There's too much stuff here for it to just go away. Yeah. Like, for example, you look at the emails between him and Woody Allen about him sending him Wayfair Christmas gifts.
Yes. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the Wayfair scandal back in 2020, that Wayfair was allegedly linked to sex trafficking for the elites, or they would go on and order these $10,000 and $20,000 chairs. Yeah. That chair does not cost $10,000 or $20,000, but they'd order that chair, and what they were actually doing is ordering from an online catalog of children or slaves to be delivered to them. Yeah. And there's emails showing that, which is insane. And then it goes even further down when you look at that Jeffrey Epstein, through the Zorro Trust, won the New Mexico State Lottery. He won $80 million in the lottery. It's what in the world?
Yeah.
What are
he is the luckiest. Yeah. He is the most. Oh my goodness. Have you ever thought? Oh man, I just had a thought. You remember the Dos Equis commercials? Yeah. The most interesting man in all the world. Mm-hmm. He looks like Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah. White hair, white beard.
So I want to go down a weird rabbit hole really quick.
Go
on that. So winning the lottery is very odd, and I believe that is probably a payoff from somebody up high. Yeah. Because that's a perfect way to hide a large sum of money going to somebody, is by them winning the lottery.
Yes.
It's purely chance that you could win that. Sure. So anybody could win it unless you want somebody to win it. Now, I'll give credit to News for Real as the name of the channel. John is his name. And he brought this up. And if you look at the Sandy Hook heroes list, the people listed in Sandy Hook, okay, that took place there. You know, we know what happened. The gunman came in. what was
Adam
his name?
Lanza. Adam Lanza.
Came in, shot up the school, and then they tore it down. There's a list of heroes, of people that were heroes, at the parents and whatnot. So what's very odd is a lot of them have won the lottery since then. Different states, different amount of winnings. A lot of them have won lottery in New Jersey, Connecticut, Mississippi. And you start to search this, and the rabbit hole gets pretty deep when you look at that. And then you kind of step back and think about, well, that is one of the perfect cover-ups to cover up money. Listen, you're going to be a crisis actor. You're going to go through this, whatever it is, and we're going to pay you out. We can't pay you out directly because there's a lot of paper trail when it comes to that much money falling in your lap.
Yeah.
But hey, if you go play these numbers, play these 6 whatever numbers on this day here, and you'll be set up. When I saw that, that took me way back. I was
That's
like,
weird,
oh,
man. That's weird.
Yeah.
That is really, really weird.
So that's a strange.
That's way beyond synchronicity.
Yeah, that doesn't just happen. And
It
then you
doesn't.
have Epstein's Fortnite account is still active.
That's because the guy's in Israel playing Fortnite.
Well, he's still active, and it's verified. You can go on there and see it. Then it's nuts. Another one was the emails stating that Joe Biden died in 2019, but in that there's been somebody else playing him wearing a mask, and the person in the email, it's been redacted, whoever it is, says that the mask malfunctions are embarrassing. That the mask malfunctions are embarrassing.
Oh my goodness, alive.
It's like, well, okay,
bro, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense because when you look at Joe Biden's facial structure, it doesn't look anything like him.
Yeah.
It doesn't look anything like him. Now, the question is, if that was Joe Biden, somebody playing Joe Biden, were there 2 Joe Bidens, or did Joe Biden die in 2019? And then this guy played Joe Biden. If he did, he deserves an Academy Award because he played him as an absolute retard. I mean, he played him as just, absolutely off the chart old. But, I mean, that's what you're supposed to do. I mean, that's the question. Are we watching occult theatrics on a grand scale? Mm-hmm. Is that what we're watching to keep the populace in line? Instead of a gun, it's a play. I mean, that is crazy, man.
And then you look at the next generation of politicians and stuff who are coming out now. And one thing is, when you start to search through those emails on the Department of Justice, there is a deep connection, a lot of meetings with Peter Thiel, who has a huge influence in J.D. Vance.
J.D. Vance.
Got him elected in Ohio.
Yeah.
And has funded him and mentored him all along the way.
Yes, and some people believe that there was a deep connection between Peter Thiel and Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
Definite connection there. And that the theory is, this is a theory, that Charlie Kirk started going off the grid. Charlie Kirk had a lot of power, started going off grid. Charlie Kirk had to be taught a lesson, had to be brought in line. Yeah, man. Well, boys and girls, if you thought the rabbit hole was deep, we just showed you that it is bottomless. It is absolutely bottomless. I bring you back full circle. Paul said that we are not dealing with flesh and blood, but spiritual wickedness in high places. What do? Take unto you the whole armor of God. You better be in your Bible. You better be in a local church. If you're not in a local church, move to Palmetto, Florida. We got one here for you. You better be walking with the Lord, because we are living in a day of darkness and confusion, and the only real light of life comes from the Word of God. Jeffrey Epstein, the mystery man, not of the past, but of the present. Who is he? What is he? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
I just know
I'll take the cash from any source, including you. What's the other argument?
Let me give you that I know in my case,
Is your money dirty money?
if you look,
I just asked a question. Is your money dirty money?
no, it's not. So, in fact,
Why is it not dirty money?
because I earned it, heart.
But you earned it.
I earned it legally.
We went back to this before. You earned
Yes.
it. You earned it advising the worst people in the world, right? That do enormous bad things, and just to make more money.
So, instead of asking me the question, should you take the money? Because I think it's a legitimate question.
Do you think it's a legitimate question?
Yes, no
Why?
question. Because I think about, I think ethics is always a complicated subject, but I can tell you that with the money I gave to help try to eradicate polio in Pakistan and India, instead of asking me whether that money should be given to these children for vaccines, I think you might want to ask their mothers who received the vaccine, who know their child now won't get polio, and ask them if Epstein should have helped these people.
If we walked in, you're a mathematician. We walked into that clinic where they're giving that money out to these people that are in the most dire straits of poverty and sickness, and told them that the money was coming from a, class 3 sexual predator?
Tier 1.
What's tier 1's the highest and worst?
No, I'm
the lowest.
I'm the lowest.
You're the lowest. Okay, tier 1, you're the lowest. But a criminal.
Yes.
That the money came from them. What percentage of people do you estimate? I understand you don't like probabilities. Do you estimate would say, I don't care, I want the money for my children?
I would say everyone said, I want the money for my children.
Did they know where the money came from?
I think if you told them,
the 100%,
I told them the devil
100%.
The devil
himself
said, I'm going to exchange some dollars for your child's life.
Do you think you're the devil himself?
No, but I do have a good mirror.
It's a serious question.
Sorry.
Do you think you're the devil himself?
I don't know. Why would you say that?
Because you have all the attributes. You're incredibly smart. You remember, the devil is somebody who knows
smart?
The devil's brilliant. You read Milton's Paradise Lost.
No, the devil scares me.
Satan is at the number 1 or 2 archangel, and the reason he goes to hell and leads the rebellion is because he can't be the top guy. And his thing is, I'd rather reign in hell than serve in heaven.
I saw that in a movie once called American Dharma. I don't remember who said it. Okay, we have to go.
Okay, good. Okay. That was good.